Overlook Horizon High Altitude Balloons, an Ontario County nonprofit.
This is no ordinary balloon.
What a view!
Over 110,000 feet.
This is incredible.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch.
Hey guys, Tori here from Overlook Horizon, coming to you live with this early morning launch, but a super exciting one today for the Parker Solar Probe, launching out of Cape Canaveral Air Force Base today on the East Coast here in the U.S. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. We're a little bit delayed today, but it's finally time to send this beautiful probe to the sun, on a mission to touch the sun, so to speak. And I have little air quotes there because we're not actually touching the sun. So good morning to everybody. We're going to chat a little bit about it. We are delayed a little bit, so if you saw the original mission timeline, it was supposed to launch at 3:33 a.m. Eastern Time. It's currently 3:21 a.m. Eastern Time. The new launch time is now 3:53 a.m. Eastern Time. So they did push it back a little bit. They had some work, some technical issues on some of the ground support systems that they were working through before they started some of the fueling process. So they wanted to get that resolved ahead of time, but now we're in good shape. They have started that, so we're pushing forward for 3:53 a.m. Eastern Time, hopefully for an on-time launch, because I'm super excited to see this. This is incredible. So we're launching today a Delta IV Heavy rocket, which actually I've got the NASA stream running here. Where's my feed? Let's get it up here so you can see it. So they do have, there's a little live look at it real quick. We're going to chat before we get into this because we do have some time. But I just happened to see that they had it up full screen while I was chatting with you. So I'll keep it on the live views here for just a moment, and then we'll switch back. But it's super exciting today. Launching, this is the Delta IV Heavy rocket, only the 10th time that they've launched the Delta IV Heavy, but they've done it over many years. They are also, this will be the fastest man-made spacecraft to ever leave Earth. I mean, this guy, when it reaches its lowest point or its closest approach to the sun, is going to be going 430,000 miles per hour, which is crazy fast. I can't believe the speeds that we're talking about here. But before we get into kind of all those specs and things like that, one of the things that I did want to point out, because I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on Facebook, a little bit of confusion because they're saying they're going to touch the sun. We're not flying this. This probe is not going directly into the sun. It's not making a straight beeline right to the sun. So this is actually taking, it's going to take some time before it gets to the really close approaches, but we're not actually flying directly into it. The biggest thing, actually here, we've got some stuff that we can pull up here for graphics wise. Here's our mission patch here. So I'm sure you've seen that around, but what I did want to talk about is the actual, the orbital path that we're taking here. So let's see, I'm going to get rid of this and then we're going to switch over to this. So this is what the orbital path looks like for the Parker Solar Probe. So we're going to get launch and liftoff, and then it's going to be on its way pretty close. The timeline today is very quick, and we'll take a look at the timeline in just a minute. But when this thing launches, it's going to make this dive down to the sun, and it's a little bit confusing as far as speed goes, because it's actually going to be, relative to the Earth, this is actually going to be slowing down in order to reach the sun. But on that first approach, the first perihelion that it's going to get to is still quite a ways out, but it's going to take another 7 years, I believe, before it gets to that very first minimum approach that's going to be down in the 4 million mile range from the surface of the sun. So still going to be 4 million miles away from the surface of the sun, but that is incredibly close, relatively speaking. So what it's really doing today, or not today, but when it actually gets there, and over the course of the next 7+ years, is it's going to be measuring and looking at the corona which is basically the upper atmosphere of the sun. There's a couple things that it's interested in, really. One, they're trying to look at solar winds and why when the particles that leave the surface of the sun, why they speed up and get faster through the corona. They're also trying to figure out why the corona is hotter than the surface of the sun, which is kind of crazy and kind of defies like physics a little bit. But the corona is actually hotter than the surface of the sun, and they're trying to figure out why. So we're sending this probe is going to be going through the corona multiple times to try to study that and try to figure that out. And they're also looking at the magnetic field as part of the solar wind bit, trying to figure out why those particles are accelerating as after they leave the surface of the sun. So so I'm going to get to a couple other things here too as well, but I saw a whole bunch of comments. I'm surprised. Well, I shouldn't say too surprised, but figured I might be here broadcasting by myself considering it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but some of you guys have joined me, so I appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out this morning. I see Gregorius, Alex Ziggyful on our YouTube channel. I see Leia, a bunch of our regulars over on the Periscope. I see Max Q Official, Abolile, I don't know how to say that, but yeah, thanks everybody for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. I know it's early morning, it's super early morning here on the East Coast. On the West Coast, it's probably super late at night, and then if you're over in Europe, then it's still probably pretty early morning there. So we're gonna make it through and see what we get. I'm interested to see what the camera views are like for this launch, because typically this is a lot different than a SpaceX launch. SpaceX does a really great job of showing all the camera the launch vehicle all the way through separation, and I'm not sure what we're going to be able to see camera view wise here. If ULA and NASA, definitely, it's not really a knock to them, but they definitely focus very much so on the mission at hand, and so a lot of these extras and the extras like cameras and things like that aren't really essential to the mission itself, they don't necessarily incorporate those in a lot. So I'm curious to see what our camera view is going to be after launch. Hi from Orlando, after midnight in California with Jason Wright. Hi from Tombstone. I wonder if they'll do anything during the Venus flyby. Yeah, so we have there's going to be 7 Venus flybys here that are going to provide gravity assist, and that's one thing that just kind of boggles my mind. Like, I don't know how do you plan that out? I mean, I'm sure, all the orbits are there and we have them pretty well figured out, but it seems mind-blowing to me that we can plan out a mission 7 years out and plan out all these Venus flybys for gravity assists. That just seems crazy to me, but it's happening. That's what's happening, and that's how it's going to get closer and closer to the sun. Is those Venus flybys are really what's going to drop that perihelion down to get even closer to the sun. Viewing from Alabama at work at this time in the morning in Alabama. Oh man, that's must be the overnight. Let's see. So we talked about, at that very minimum perihelion, this spacecraft is going to be traveling 430,000 miles per hour. It's going to be 4 million miles off the surface of the sun. Super close. It's going to be flying right through. Now, the temperature of the corona is somewhere in the range of 2 to 3 million degrees. But big question is, with a probe like this, like why doesn't this thing just melt with all that, with those high temperatures? And really, there's a big difference between temperature and heat. The particles it's not a very dense area flying through the corona. So the heat that's actually transferred to the spacecraft itself is actually not that bad. It's not going to experience 2 million degrees Fahrenheit in temperature. It's only going to be we're only looking at 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit is what the spacecraft really has to deal with. And so it's doing a bunch of cool things to deal with those temperatures. I mean, one of the things it's going to do is going to orient itself and its heat shield. There's a huge heat shield on the front of it, and it's going to orient that heat shield to, you know, point at the sun basically every time it approaches. So it's actively moving itself into position to make sure that the heat shield stays in between the critical components of the spacecraft and the sun. And that heat shield is it's reinforced carbon-carbon, which is pretty much the same stuff that was used on the space shuttle on the not the tiles underneath, but the nose, the front of the nose cone on the space shuttle, and also the leading edge of the wings. If you look at the space shuttle, they're like a different matte gray type color. That's the reinforced carbon-carbon material. That's the front edge of the heat shield on the Parker Solar Probe. And then we have a bunch of, I think it's like foam. I'm not even really sure what it is, but it's all like, I think it's closer to like what the actual tiles are on the underside of the space shuttle is what's after that. But basically you go through all that. It's also water cooled on the back as well. And it's only on the other side of the heat shield, it's only going to be experiencing about 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's taken a huge amount of that heat down, which is incredible. Let's see, saw a whole bunch of more comments here before I go too far. Oh, Sandy. Hi, Sandy. Sandy's up late. Sandy was down with me at the NASA TESS mission. So good to see you joining us today. Yeah, Gregorius says graveyard. Yeah, the graveyard shift. That's like the overnight shift. That who was it? I missed it. I forgot. Already forgot who commented on it. Whoever was working late night in Alabama, working the graveyard shift. Jerry. Jerry's working the graveyard shift. Let's see. Phone's dead, but best of luck and Godspeed to you all. Jason, sounds like Jason needs some battery. Got to get some charging. Thank God for composite material, like a summer night in Oklahoma. Yeah, should be a little bit warmer than a summer night in Oklahoma. Well, the 85 degrees, maybe not so much, but yeah, the 2500 is going to be a little bit warmer. But yeah, only 85 degrees that the spacecraft has to deal with on the back side of the heat shield, which is very manageable for the spacecraft to deal with that. So it's got some active water cooling. It's basically circulating water through the components and then radiating the heat away on the backside. It's got solar arrays, which we can probably pull up some pictures here, I suppose. So now normally I would throw up like a picture or two, but there were so many pictures that I couldn't decide what I wanted to look at. So I just brought the whole NASA photo album here, which I'm going to pull up here in a second. I'm trying to figure out how to get back to where I was. There we go. All right, let's see. You want to see this screen here? This is what we're looking at. These are all the pictures that I had pulled up that I wanted to show. That were, I don't know, there were too many to choose from. So many great shots of the Delta. I got to be careful. I keep wanting to call this the Falcon Heavy. This is not Falcon Heavy. This is Delta IV Heavy. So many great shots of the Delta IV Heavy as it was getting lifted into their vehicle assembly building there. Here's some shots. This is the actual Parker Solar Probe. And what I'm looking for, I wanted to see a shot of the solar arrays. Let's see, where are the solar arrays here? Do we have a shot of it? So there you can see the second stage being loaded there in the interstage. So here's your second stage there being loaded in. Let me see. I want to see. I had them up earlier, but now I can't find them. Oh, that's because I'm on page 2. Let me go back to page 1. That's what I'm looking for. Let's see here. There they are. These are the pictures that I was looking for. So it's not a huge spacecraft. It's actually relatively small here. You can see like some photos like this really kind of show how relatively small this spacecraft is. You can see the guy that's standing right here at the right at the top of the stairwell there, right next to the spacecraft. And it's pretty small. And the spacecraft, when you're looking at, I don't know if I could be able to see this, my hand will cut off from the green screen here, but this lower section here of the spacecraft is a third kick stage, and then the actual spacecraft starts about, my finger's going to get cut off, right about here. So this upper section is the actual spacecraft, the solar probe. That lower section there is a third stage, a third kick stage. So it's a relatively small spacecraft, and it really has to be because of how much speed it needs to get to the sun. So I'm still looking for the solar arrays. Where are the solar? Here's a shot of the solar arrays here. You can see, does my mouse show up on the broadcast? I don't know if my mouse shows up, but so the solar arrays are looking right at us, and they basically fold in and out. So when it's out in away from the sun, they can fold out for maximum power generation, and then as it gets closer to the sun, they fold back in so that they stay behind the heat shield and stay protected, so that they're not experiencing crazy amounts of heat there. So so yeah, that's there were some shots there, and then let's see, let me get this back. Now I got to get myself organized again here, get my comments back up. Michael says, bring on the 2,500 degrees. I'm not scared. He's taking it on. Jagman, set my alarm to watch live from Jacksonville, Florida. There we go. Set my alarm. Perfect. Yeah, I had to set it too, but as soon as my alarm went off, I was struggling a little bit. I was like, oh, man. Let's see. Besides the heat problem, I wonder how they prevent the radiation from frying their electronics. Well, they do also, they had to put in special wiring. So I forget, I don't remember exactly what what it was made out of. But the actual wiring itself, they had to use something special in order to just wire it together, all the electronic components. But yeah, I don't know if they have to do too much with radiation. That's a good question. Let's see, what else did I want to show you here before we get over to the ULA broadcast here? Actually, we can take a quick look at the ULA broadcast. ULA's hosting is well, this is a NASA hosted one, so so I may leave it on mute for a while till we get a little bit closer here. But this is showing the basically what's going to happen for the flight. This is up into what we're looking at here is the second stage burn right now. So we saw, we went through quickly the booster separation. We're into the second stage here. There's the fairing that separates, and you can see the spacecraft. And the third stage is that upper stage right there. That eventually separates, basically the entire thing separates like a whole satellite. And let's see, once it gets away. So they're going to separate that spacecraft, let it coast for just a few seconds. I think it's like 20 or 30 seconds. Then they're going to ignite that upper third stage. That third stage is a solid rocket motor. And that's going to it increases, I think, the delta V by like 3,300 meters per second or something crazy like that. And that really gives it a huge kick at the end of the flight. And then it separates and away it goes. It's on its way. So yeah, it's definitely a huge, huge kick from that third stage there. Oh wait, this is not the graphic that I wanted. I wanted to show this graphic. So this is basically what we're looking at for today's Delta IV Heavy. So you've got your three cores down at the bottom. Looks a lot like Falcon Heavy. So the three cores, the two side cores will separate off, and then the center core will throttle up for a little while longer. That'll separate. You get your the Delta Cryogenic second stage, or the DCSS. That'll be your second stage that will fire. That has two burns, and then as we saw, the separation of the spacecraft and the third stage, we get the third stage firing. So this is the exploded view here of the launch vehicle today. Let's see. These bots are something else. Guess somebody's. We got some bots maybe on the Periscope side of things. And just watching live from Sherry Down Park in Cape Canaveral. Feel the thunder. Oh, that should be pretty exciting. I wish I was down there for it. Let's see. Go Parker Go, says Gary. Quick, someone nab the 3D model and make a Kerbal mod off of it. That would be pretty cool. Does anyone know what time the countdown is? I did see it. I saw it in the background. So NASA's not really displaying the countdown on the feed right now. So this is what the NASA feed looks like. We're getting some live pictures. Last I saw, it was at I think we're at about 13 minutes right now. So you can actually, it's really tough to see, but if you look really carefully, you can see, this is the countdown right in here, which I can't, it's on my monitor over here, but I can't really read it when it's that small. I think it says 12 minutes and a couple seconds, and that's the L- time. So you'll hear with ULA launches, you're going to hear two different time frames referenced. There's a T- time and there's an L- time. The L- time is really, that's the real time until launch. So L- should be about 12 minutes or so. T- is actually, we're likely in the T- 4 minutes, 4 minute hold. So the T- time is likely going to say T- 4 minutes, and it's just going to sit there for a long time. That's normal for ULA launches. I'm trying to see if they, so I see 11 minutes and 40 seconds is on the L- clock. I can't see the T- clock on there, but for ULA launches, what they do is they run the T- clock all the way down to 4 minutes, and then they hold it for a really long time, and then they start it back up 4 minutes prior to launch. So that's pretty normal for ULA launches, but the L- time, that one's a little easier to follow, although they don't reference it as much. But that one's really real time until launch. Hi from Australia. Hello, Australia. I think they're in the middle of their 20-minute hold. Yep, I think we should be in the middle of the 20-minute hold that happens at T- 4 minutes. Gregorius says 95% weather favorability. Yeah, 95%. They did upgrade that even just in the last couple hours. It got upgraded from 80%, and then it went for 85 to 90, and now we're sitting at 95% favorable weather. So we should hopefully see a successful launch today. But there's our launch vehicle, and I'll kick on the sound here from NASA in just a moment. But I did want to. Let's see, I want to make sure I covered all our stuff that we were going to take a look at beforehand. I think the only other thing I wanted to show, I guess there's two other things, is we got our timeline here. Where's my timeline? So here's our timeline for the mission here today. So we get liftoff at T0. Then we're going to have booster jettison. That's almost 4 minutes in that we see booster jettison. Then first stage separation is at about 5 minutes and 42 seconds. You get your main engine start. That's the second stage there, the main engine start. You get payload fairing jettison. The first main engine cutoff is 10.5 minutes, and then they go into a 12-minute coast phase. Then you'll get the main engine will start up a second time. That's the second stage engine. We'll start up a second time. That runs for a little while. A lot of times you don't see, like if you're watching geostationary transfer orbit launches, then the second burn is usually just a few seconds. But this is a long second burn. That's going for like another 14 minutes on that second burn there. Then that's going to cut off and separate, and then the third stage, that final kick stage there. The solid rocket's going to ignite. That one's not very long. I think it's only about a minute and a half. And then that's going to burn out, separate. So overall, we're about 45 minutes from launch until complete separation and mission over from ULA's standpoint. And then obviously the spacecraft is going to have a much longer mission after that. So. And then the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to switch over, and we're going to start listening to some of the NASA broadcast here. But the last thing was just in terms of where we're launching today. So we are on the East Coast. We're not going to see any recoveries or anything like that. That's a SpaceX thing, so we don't see any recoveries today. But I suppose I can throw this up here too. So no recovery. The boosters aren't getting recovered. The fairings aren't getting recovered. There's no recoveries. There's no landing. Nothing like that. So this is a completely expendable mission. We're going back to the old school, the tried and true tested method. They're just launching and expending everything. So this is happening on the East Coast here today. It is on Cape Canaveral. It's at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station on pad 37B. So you've got basically, if you're looking at my graphic here, you've got your two like big historic pads are at the top. It's 39A and 39B. You got Launch Complex 41. That's the ULA launch complex. It's not the one we're using today. Then you've got Slick 40. That's a SpaceX. That's one that SpaceX uses pretty frequently. And then the fifth complex down, the fifth red dot down, is pad 37 or complex 37. And so that's where this flight is happening today. So there we go. I think we covered a whole bunch of stuff. Let's listen in and see what they have to say, and then I'm going to check in on some of your comments here and see what we missed here. Let's get some.
Go. Locks. Go. LH2.
There we go. Right in the count.
Second stage systems. Locks.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Third stage systems. Third stage vehicle manager. Go. Electrical systems. Airborne. Go. Ground. Go. Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control. Go. COM.
Go.
GCQ.
Go.
Operations support.
No go pending the resolution of the Tisser anomaly just briefed on 6.
Roger. Pneumatics. Go.
We have a
Umbilicals.
no-go there.
Go.
HASGAS.
Go.
ACS.
Go.
Redline monitor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
Op safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
No go VME status.
Roger. Anomaly chief.
No go VME status.
Roger. Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Roger. LD, LC.
LD on 1.
Yeah, we have a no-go conditions going to not ready with your direction.
Roger.
Oh, so we got
LC switch not ready. AC, please inform me of the not ready condition.
We will get you a report as soon as possible.
Roger.
all right. So
And as you just heard, that was the poll done at the L-7 mark. And as you heard on the countdown, that we're right now in a no-go status. We'll stand by for more information.
yeah, so it looks like it is. So it looks like we're no go at the moment. I didn't hear what the particular issue was, but yeah, sounds like we got some kind of issue going on. So we're no go at the moment. We'll have to listen in and see what the issue might be here. So yeah, countdown says yeah, we should be. Well, yeah, we were supposed to be.
All personnel Net 1. All console operators maintain system readiness. Allow the anomaly team to investigate the condition and be ready for a new T0 coordination.
So it sounds like they're going to do a new T0. So it looks like we are going to get a delay here. We do have, this is about, it was a 65-minute window. They pushed it back 20 minutes already. So now they got about 45 minutes left in that window. So they can push out another 45 minutes. They were supposed to be launching here in 4 minutes, but obviously that's not happening now. So they're going to push this out, but they got another 45 minutes to recycle and get set to go again. Let's see. Flynn White on Periscope asks, what is that smoke? Yeah, that's basically condensation or water vapor from the super cold liquid hydrogen and oxygen mix. So that's completely normal. Let's see. No, it's not smog. Somebody said, is it smog? let's see. And then
if you're just joining us, you see that the clocks are at L-4 minutes, T-4 minutes during the terminal count readiness poll.
Down a little bit.
That would allow us to exit the T-4 minute hold. We had a condition which the teams are looking into as we speak, and so we'll look to establish a new T0 at a time coming up. Mick and I will continue to monitor the situation here from the Mission Director Center, and we'll bring you more as we know.
All right, so still no word on what the anomaly is right now, but there's always a lot of mass confusion well, not mass confusion, but confusion from our end. It's they're working on other things, and we get the low priority as far as updating us. But let's see. Road Warrior says, "Wow, staying up late for this one, are you?" It's more. I don't know if it was staying up late. It's more getting up early. It's somewhere in between, because I did go to bed for a little while. Sandy asks, "Is your name on the chip?" Yeah, I did. NASA JPL had the opportunity where you could go in and basically punch your ticket. You type in your name, and they're flying basically a memory chip with everybody who signed up. Memory chip with everybody's name on it is on board for this flight. So yeah, my name's on it, and also the hashtag Space Lobster is on board as well. So I even got a ticket for the Space Lobster, and so the Space Lobster's ticket is on board for this flight here today as well. Oh, look at this! I match everybody. Everybody got purple shirts on today. It's like I got the memo. Let's see. What else did I miss here? I have my certificate. Gregory says I have my certificate. My name is in the chip. There we go. Awesome. Let's see. Let's light this candle. Well, we got a little bit of time before we light this candle because we are in a bit of a hold. Michael says, "What about Shrimpy?" I didn't get a ticket for Shrimpy. I should have got a ticket for Shrimpy. Only the Space Lobster got a ticket on the Parker Solar Pro, but we left Shrimpy out, unfortunately. I should have got a ticket for Shrimpy too. Let's see. Oh, is he coming back? Thought they were going to give us an update. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're gonna be waiting for a little while. One of the things to note when we do actually launch, if we launch today, because there is a chance now that we've got kind of an extended anomaly, especially this close to launch time, it's possible that they could have to scrub this, but we still got some time. There's still another 45 minutes before they have to launch. So if it does launch today, or when you do see it launch, the Delta IV, all the Delta IV rockets, but the Delta IV Heavy, which we're seeing today, and just the regular Delta IV, there's always a huge fireball, and that's from the hydrogen fuel that they use. But when it ignites, there's usually a huge fireball at the base of the rocket, and sometimes it looks like the whole rocket's going to catch on fire and starts burns the insulation on the outside, and you can see it char and turn everything black. That's completely normal. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. You see the ignition, and then you see this huge fireball, and it looks like the rocket's catching on fire. Everybody kind of freaks out for a little bit, but that is normal. So expect to see that when this does actually launch. It's going to give us an update.
We're here in the Mission Director Center, monitoring as launch teams continue to work toward a liftoff time. Mick, can you tell me what the launch teams are working on?
Yeah, the teams right now are, in the T-4 holding. You heard the poll for the no-go situation that they're doing. And so the teams are taking this chance while the assessment is being done to evaluate what's going on. The other parts of the team are taking a look at the rocket and just verifying that all other aspects of the vehicle are still within specifications and ready to proceed forward with the T0 tonight. So as the EGSE team takes a look at what's going on, they'll get back to the launch director and launch conductor to let them know their resolution, and we'll look forward for a new T0 as we continue to hold here at T-4, using up some of the window that's still available. Right now we have 39 minutes left in the launch availability window for this evening's launch.
So you're looking at a live shot of the Delta IV Heavy with the additional third stage on your screen there. Mick and I will continue to monitor the count and we'll bring you updates as we know it.
All right, so there we go. We're now we don't have too much more detail, but like I said, obviously some kind of anomaly that they're working on. So a couple other questions that somebody said. Let's see, what's the window? Yeah, originally was a 65-minute window that started at 3:33. They pushed it back to 3:53, which meant we had 45 minutes left. So yeah, we're just under that 3:53 time frame. So we've got a little less than 45 minutes left in the window. So still enough time for them to recycle. That's really going to depend on what they have to do to resolve this anomaly. I would expect, at least, I mean, once they do resolve it, I would expect them to the new T0 to be like 15 minutes out. That's kind of typical. Like once you resolve the issue, they want to have 15 minutes to make sure everything is good to go before launch. But it is also possible they do have this built-in T-4 minute hold, so it's possible they might resolve it and then just keep going. But yeah, we'll have to see. It really depends on how long it takes them to resolve the hold here, or the anomaly. So let's see. A bunch of people asked where the launch site is. Yeah, this is down in Cape Canaveral, Florida. We looked at that a little bit earlier. So here's a quick look at all the launch pads on Cape Canaveral, Florida. You've got, like I said earlier, 39A and 39B are up at the top. Those are your big historic pads that you saw the Apollo launch from, the shuttle missions. You've got Complex 41, which is the next one down, the third red dot down. Then you got Pad 40, which SpaceX uses for their Falcon 9. And then Pad 37 is what we're using today. So it's the fifth red dot down from the top. This is Pad 37B. That they're using today, which did actually launch some unmanned or uncrewed Apollo missions way back in the Apollo era. But yeah, that's where we're launching today. Let's see, let me get back to my, we'll go back to here. Where's the launch site? We had a whole bunch of people asked where the launch site. Why a Delta rocket? That just happened to be the launch provider that was chosen. So these launch providers usually get chosen way ahead of time. So Falcon Heavy wasn't around when this was decided. They need a launch vehicle that is a super heavy launch vehicle, which Delta IV Heavy is. It's not as powerful as now they got the countdown clock. Of course, I just moved myself in the way of the countdown clock. Let's see, let me move myself out of the way here. But they, what was I saying? Now I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so they need a super heavy vehicle. This is the Falcon Heavy is actually, slide myself over. Whoa. The Falcon Heavy is actually has twice as much thrust as the Delta IV Heavy. But like I said, that wasn't around back then.
You're looking at a live shot of the Delta IV Heavy rocket at Space Launch Complex 37 on Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. On the bottom of the right of your screen, you see the T clock, which is stopped at the T-4 minute mark. Mick, can you tell us a little bit about the clocks?
Yeah, the T clock is used by the team to continue working through the launch procedure. We also have an L clock, which has the built-in hold times. Of course, we're at the T-4 and holding point right now, so there's no more hold time remaining. So we're actually in this hold pattern using up some of our available launch window this evening. We had 45 minutes left over in our launch window. We're down to 35 minutes in that launch available window right now as teams continue to work through the issues that they've identified during the last poll before moving into terminal count. You know, it's been a very busy morning for us here, starting with tower roll all the way through fueling. There have been a lot of things the team has been working, and they continue to work diligently through this issue as they want to assess and make sure everything is in perfect order before moving into the terminal count for a on-time liftoff later this morning.
So while the T clock holds at the T-4 mark, we'll continue to monitor the launch teams, and we'll bring you more updates.
Yeah, so still no word. A bunch of people are asking what the hold is. I don't know what the hold is for yet, at least not at this point. So hopefully they fill us in at some point, but don't know what the hold is about at this point. All I know is that we are holding. We're at T-4 minutes, and we're just sitting here waiting. Let's see. Hello from France. Bonjour. Can you tell us the flight path? Yeah, we could talk about the flight path. Let's get the flight path map back up. So this is a mission that's going to take a number of years. Going to take a number of years before it actually gets to its closest approach to the sun. But we will see a very close approach to the sun as early as November of this year. It's just not the closest approach to the sun that it will have. But it's still the very first perihelion will be right around November 1st of this year. So we're gonna and it's even gonna be, even before it gets to that point, by like September time frame, it's gonna be getting pretty close to the sun. So it's gonna start collecting a lot of that science data much sooner than that. So this is what the orbital flight path is going to look like over the next couple of years. So you got launch, which happens all the way on the left side of that graphic. That's where we are, Earth. So the very first Venus flyby that we get is going to be just in September. So we get a Venus flyby in September, which right away is going to provide gravity assist and pull us in a little closer to the sun. And then it's performing 7 Venus flybys over the course of the next couple of years, just pulling itself in closer and closer to the sun, using the Venus's gravity to help with that, which is, I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, is just crazy to me how well they can plan this out just years in advance. And they're like, we're going to pass Venus here and this day and this time, and then over here and then here and here, and just, I mean, it seems to me, I'm no rocket scientist, but I've played my fair share of Kerbal Space Program. I could probably plan out a flyby of Venus. But to plan out 7 on the course of a mission, and I can't imagine the anxiety or the pressure that has to go into that, because I mean, once the third stage of the Delta IV Heavy rocket lets it go, I mean, you don't really have any more propulsion left, so you're stuck with what you got. So yeah, those calculations have to be spot on so you don't crash into Venus or any of that kind of stuff. So it's crazy to me how well they can plan that out. But that's what we're looking at for orbital path. So you see over the course of a couple of years, it's not going to circularize around the sun. It will be very elliptical for the entire life of its mission, and that's simply because it takes so much power to nullify all that velocity to get yourself into a circular orbit around the sun if you wanted it to stay close to the sun the entire time. I think that was also not preferable for NASA anyways, because they're using the time away from the sun as cool down time and time that they can do some of their other science objectives or kind of collecting data, transmitting it back, all that kind of stuff they can do when they're away from the sun, away from all the heat and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it will be very elliptical over the entire life of the flight here. So let's see. A bunch of people don't like the Delta IV Heavy. I don't have a problem with Delta IV Heavy. I like Delta IV Heavy. Let's see. What's the flame to the left? So that's hydrogen burn off. So hydrogen is a fuel that they're using for Delta IV. So that's just a hydrogen burn off off to the side that you'll see. You don't see it in this view here.
From Delta Launch Control, we're at the T-4 minute mark and holding. On your screen, you see the Delta IV there, the Delta IV Heavy with the additional third stage. Teams are continuing to work, although the T clock is stopped, and we'll bring you more information as we know it for the launch of NASA's Parker Solar Probe. The Parker Solar Probe's observations from directly inside the corona will help scientists understand why the sun's atmosphere is some 1,000 times hotter than its surface. The mission will provide unprecedentedly close observations of the solar wind, the constant outflow of solar material hurled from the sun at 1 million miles per hour. NASA's Parker Solar Probe will also study how solar eruptions accelerate particles to such energies that they can pose a hazardous condition for astronauts and technology in space. Understanding more about the fundamental processes near the sun will provide key information to better understand their effects on the space environment near Earth, such as space weather can damage the orbits of satellites, shorten their lifetimes, or interfere with onboard electronics. The more we learn about what causes space weather and how to predict it, the better we can protect the satellites we depend on. Understanding more about space weather also helps protect astronauts from dangerous radiation exposure during potential human spaceflight missions exploring the Moon and Mars. The sun is the only star that can be studied up close. Observing the star we live near sheds light on stars throughout the universe. Parker Solar Probe is the newest addition to NASA's heliophysics fleet, missions that study the vast interconnected system from the sun to the space surrounding Earth and other planets to the farthest limits of the sun's constantly flowing streams of solar wind. Parker Solar Probe provides key information about how the sun drives this dynamic and complex system.
All right, I'm going to turn this guy down here while he's chatting. I'll bring him back. I'll bring him back if he comes back, but he's just kind of reading off a script, and it's I'm trying to control the volume of the guy, but in my earpiece, the guy has got to be like on top of the microphone. It's so overmodulated. It's driving my ear crazy while he's talking. So I'm gonna mute that for a little bit. But a couple people have said it again. Why aren't they using Falcon Heavy? You got to remember that these launch contracts and vehicle mating and planning and all that kind of stuff, that happens years in advance. And Falcon Heavy just launched for the first time this year. So when this launch was decided and this was given to ULA, Falcon Heavy wasn't even a thing yet. And so the launch contract gets handed out, went out to ULA. They were really, it's really the only rocket capable of handling this mission at the time. Falcon Heavy now has competition for that, but yeah, that wasn't around when this launch contract was decided here. So let's see, I missed a whole bunch of comments here on Periscope. I was trying to get back to them if I could find them. Let's see. I like Poor Barry's comment. He says, how come we can power a rocket for years and years, but my iPhone battery dies in a few hours? I love that comment. That one got to me, but I don't know the answer to that. Gaming Freak says, so they're using Venus as a slingshot. Yes, they're using Venus as a slingshot. Essentially, it's a gravity assist. They're using it to change the orbital path and to change the velocity. So essentially, when they fly by Venus, they're going to slow down the spacecraft without needing actual propulsion, which will help it get closer to the sun. So let's see. Because James says, because rockets don't run on lithium batteries. I think that's an answer to the iPhone question. Battery science is hard. Why? That was the Falcon Heavy question. We got to that. Did the no-go get resolved? Not yet. We're still in a no-go status. We're waiting. I still don't know I don't know what it's about. Waiting to hear more details. When are we going to see crews again? I can't get excited about sending just metal to space for last 15. Well, it's still, you can still get excited for a mission like this. Like, this is still pretty exciting. I mean, we're sending a probe to the sun. Like, we can look at, from Earth, we take images of the sun, we look at it all day long, and that's all fine and good. But now we're actually going to send a probe to the sun, which is crazy because we're literally flying through the corona, where it's millions of degrees in temperature, but as I mentioned earlier, the spacecraft will not be experiencing millions of degrees. It's only dealing with about 2,500 degrees temperature-wise that it has to deal with. And they did some pretty cool things for testing that. I was sitting here thinking, like, well, how do you test a spacecraft for 2,500 degrees? One of the things that I read is they tested it with this like mirror farm basically, and directed like sunlight towards some of the heat shield elements. I don't know.
The ability disable hit. Roger. LD net 1. LD. NLM net 1.
NLM.
Proceed, AC.
Okay, this occurred about a minute after the expected response from the ground PSM stream. This is from the vehicle. The team has evaluated the data. We recognize that it was from the vehicle. The streams are good, and we are in a good position to proceed. The risk level is the same as what we had discussed previously and voted to proceed. So the anomaly team is recommending we try again.
LC concurs. LD. LD concurs. NLM.
NLM concurs.
So it sounds like they're going to proceed. They're going to try again for another launch. It was a little bit cryptic as far as what they were talking about.
And you're looking at a live shot of the Delta IV Heavy at Space Launch Complex 37. If you're just joining us, we are at T-4 and holding. We started tonight with a 65-minute window. We now are down to 23 minutes. But Mick, can you tell us a little bit about what we just heard on Countdown 1?
Yeah, absolutely. The team evaluated the vehicle from the no-go situation they had in the T-4 poll a little earlier. What they were working on was a ground data stream that comes from the launch vehicle back to the computers in the control center. And the team looked at that data hit that they had gotten and have determined that they completely understand it, and the data stream has returned to its normal operation. And the level of comfort is good, and they are ready to proceed forward as they reported to the launch conductor.
Roger, 08:28:000. RC, LC?
RCN1.
Please coordinate a new T00828.
Roger and work.
ALC, please set the clock for 0828.
Roger.
OBM, LC net 1.
Go LC.
New target T0082800.
So
Copy. Target 082800. We'll proceed into checklist A.
Roger.
LC clock has been set for new T0 of 0828. We're at approximately L60.
Roger.
So it looks like new launch time is going to be 8:28 UTC. That's 4:28 Eastern time. That's what they're moving towards now. So we got about what time is it now? 4:12. So a little less than about 15, 20 minutes that we've got.
And from Delta Launch Control, I'm Josh, and I'm joined with Mick Woltman from NASA's Launch Service Program, and we just heard a countdown from the launch teams. Can you characterize
LC,
what that update was?
Yes, Josh. What the team was doing is, we were talking a little earlier, the team evaluated the ground data stream from the launch vehicle. They've determined they are good to proceed with launch this evening. So NASA's launch manager, Omar Baez, and United Launch Alliance's launch director, Lou Mangiuri, have coordinated a new T0 time this morning for 4:28 a.m. That's approximately 16 minutes from now to get Parker Solar Probe on its way towards the sun. So we're hoping for a smooth liftoff this evening as the teams continue to work forward and through the count procedure and get ready to pick up the count coming out of the T-4 hold.
And so we'll pick up that count in just over 10 minutes.
I believe that is correct.
All right, so it looks like we're going to get another shot at it here, which is good because it's getting close to the end of the window. So yeah, we got about 13 minutes. Is that right? Until launch now. So we're getting pretty close. Opidway said, "I hope they notify local citizens of launches in the early morning hours ahead of time." I don't know if they do. I think that's just kind of par for the course if you live close to Kennedy Space Center or Cape Canaveral.
12 minutes, 14 minutes.
Gary says, I hope nothing goes wrong and has a strong, safe flight. Me too, Gary. I'm with you there. I definitely want to make sure. I want to see everything go well. Always do. Let's see. KMC, how soon does a high-altitude balloon pick up the rocket during the flight? I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Go, Avia. Third stage recycle checklist A is complete. We're on external power. Roger.
Ben wants to know how soon after launch will it go supersonic. So that's actually going to happen. Max Q is only like a minute into the flight. I don't have on my timeline. They don't display the actual Max Q time like SpaceX does. So I don't know the exact time, but just given kind of normal rocket launch time frames, it should be a little over a minute after flight that the vehicle goes supersonic. Let's see. Gregorius said that they need to standardize the mounting hardware. These launch providers will compete even more if they know their customer can jump ship. That would definitely that would be kind of cool if they standardized that.
From Delta Launch Control, you're looking at a live view of the Delta IV Heavy rocket with the additional third stage at Space Launch Complex 37 on Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. I'm Josh, and I'm joined by Mick Woltman of NASA's Launch Services Program. We've coordinated a new T0 for 4:28 a.m., which will leave about 10 minutes left in our window. And Mick, can you tell me, now that we've reset the clock to about L-12 minutes, what we can expect?
Yeah, as we move forward from here, the launch teams will continue to work through their procedure, stepping through all aspects of the Delta IV launch vehicle. And as they get ready to enter into the terminal count, what we will see is the launch teams prepping the FTS system and getting it armed and ready to go. We'll see the third stage enter onto internal power as they perform their testing and get ready for launch. And then the Delta launch vehicle, second stage and first stage, will also enter onto internal power and getting ready for those final few minutes prior to liftoff this morning. And then about just prior to liftoff, we'll have the RS-68 engines being purged with a hydrogen purge that's going through there, and that will fill up around the engines and create some pockets around the Delta IV Heavy launch vehicle. Once the RS-68 engine ignites, it'll actually look like the Delta IV Heavy is engulfed in flames a little bit, but that's actually normal for a Delta IV Heavy launch vehicle because of that hydrogen purge that started prior to launch, and that all catches in the ignition of the RS-68. So the team will be very busy in those last 4 minutes prepping for the count and moving forward towards a liftoff at 4:28 this morning.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the Delta IV Heavy that we're looking at on our screen?
Yeah, absolutely. As we talked a little earlier, this particular Delta IV Heavy for Parker Solar Probe has 3 common booster cores, each with an RS-68 engine, which is a hydrogen-fueled engine that provides the thrust to get out of Earth's atmosphere. Sitting on top of the center core is a Delta cryogenic second stage, which is powered by an RL-10B engine, which will provide that intermediate escape velocity for the Parker Solar Probe mission once it's in space. Moving up the stack, you have the 5-meter fairing, which is encompassing Parker Solar Probe, and the mission unique third stage that was provided by Northrop Grumman Innovation Systems, a Star 48 BV motor. It's a vectorable motor that once in space, the Star 48 will provide that last little push for Parker Solar Probe to get into its trajectory heading towards the sun. Another unique thing, and we keep talking about this being a historic mission today, Josh. It is a very historic mission of getting Parker Solar Probe onto the sun, as this has been thought about for the last 60 years to get out and study the sun. But for some of our viewing audience, Launch Complex 37 is also a historic launch pad. Back in the 1960s, it was used as part of the Apollo program, launching Saturn 1s and Saturn 1Bs. It was also the place where we launched the first unmanned lunar module from. And then ULA acquired Launch Complex 37 in 2001. And began their program of Delta IV launches from here. So it's a historic launch all the way around for United Launch Alliance and NASA this evening.
And so for tonight,
No, my NASA stream is
To launch
freaking
NASA's
out.
Parker Solar Probe,
I don't know why.
which will make repeated journeys into the sun's corona and trace the
All right, so I'm at, while that since that's buffering, I'm just going to talk over it, and we'll come back to it whenever when that resolves itself.
flow
here.
of energy to enter a billion miles above the surface, which is about 4% of the distance.
All right, I'm going to mute him for a minute because I did want to answer a couple of questions because I've already heard him say this. Take that out while he's talking. So a couple of questions that I saw that came up that I wanted to answer. Trevor said, why do they close the windows? Is there a reason that they won't just keep trying? And it's actually kind of interesting. So a lot of the window, has to, the biggest portion of the window has to do with those Venus flybys and making sure that we time it right. But there's days that they have for that larger window. The time window is weather-based, but it's also one of the things that I didn't even realize, and this is going to fire up our moon landing conspiracy theorists, but is they're timing the launch to coincide with the Van Allen belts, so that they can so that they don't have to launch through the thickest portions of the Van Allen belts because they're worried about radiation on their on the electronics. So that was one of the reasons that they actually talked about in the pre-launch press conference, was that part of the window, and it was actually, they had like a full 2-hour window. They shortened it to 65 minutes, and one of the big reasons was because of the Van Allen belts. They wanted to hit a specific window to go through the Van Allen belts. So that did have a factor on the mission window there.
Go. Locks. Go. LH2. Go. Second stage
Here's
systems.
our polling
locked.
again.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Third stage systems. Third stage vehicle manager. Go. Electrical systems airborne. Go. Ground. Go. Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
Com. Com.
Com is go.
GCQ.
Go.
Operation support.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
Umbilicals.
Go.
House gas.
Go.
ACS.
Go.
Red line monitor. Go. Quality.
Go.
Op safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief. Go. Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch director.
You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. MEQ
There we
established.
go.
Swing arm lock pins pulled.
Active.
So it says they're go for everybody's go
From
for
Delta
launch.
Launch Control, you just heard the terminal count readiness poll with permission to continue the count. I'm joined by Mick Woltman of NASA's Launch Service Program. Mick, can you get us up to speed on where we are tonight?
Yes, for those just tuning in, we're getting ready to come out of the T-4 hold with a new
Periscope,
T0
go.
of 4:28 a.m.
We poll Periscope and YouTube. Periscope. Go, no go. YouTube.
Issue that they had identified earlier in the count. The T clock, as we like to refer, is the official countdown clock. It had stopped at the T-4 mark and held there for some minutes to allow the team to assess the health of the Delta IV launch vehicle as we proceed forward with the launch tonight till 4:28 a.m.
OVM transfer third stage.
Launch teams have finished topping the vehicle, fueled the first and second stage. All systems look like they are ready to go. As we just heard the poll from the team, everyone is go to pick up the terminal count and begin transferring to internal power and final checks, heading towards a successful liftoff at 4:28 this morning.
A bunch of people said, Com forgot to drink his coffee. Took a minute for the comm officer to give his go. So he was taking a break for a minute. He was on
We're
coffee
just
break.
about 20 seconds away from picking up the count.
So yeah, we're about 4 minutes away. They should pick up the clock here in just a minute, and hopefully we see a launch here. So the only thing I gathered from the hold was that they received some sort of
getting
data.
ready to come out of the hold in 3, 2, 1. We are T-4 and counting.
There we go. The clock is running. So the only thing I got from the hold was that they received some sort of data stream from the Delta IV Heavy, and I think at first there was confusion, and they had to. It was some sort of signal they didn't like.
We were at T minus 3 minutes 35 seconds and counting. Coming up at the 2.5 minute mark before launch, the launch conductor will ask the NASA spacecraft coordinator to verify that the spacecraft is on internal power.
Minus 325.
About 15 seconds later, NASA launch manager Omar Baez will give Lou Mangieri of United Launch Alliance, he's the launch director, the NASA go or no-go for launch. About 1 minute before liftoff, the launch conductor will ask the range operations coordinator, or ROC. You'll hear the status for ROC to report range. At T-minus 0, the United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy will lift off from Space Launch Complex 37. The Delta IV Heavy begins flying on its planned trajectory, and just under 45 minutes later, NASA's Parker Solar Probe will separate from the third stage, beginning its mission to study the sun.
FTS internal.
You just heard the call for the flight termination system to go internal. From now, we'll be listening to the launch teams live from the Delta Operations Center.
Flight pressure and flight level.
As we enter in the final minutes of the countdown, we'll listen in to the...
NSC verifies spacecraft on internal power.
We'll listen to the launch teams count down into the final minutes of the count.
So it's
and
on
NASA's Parker
internal
Solar
power
Probe is
now?
verified to be on internal power. After launch, we'll hear the voice of United Launch Alliance, Patrick Moore, giving real live telemetry of the Delta IV performance.
So we're coming up on it now. They're pushing forward. Hopefully we get a
2 minutes.
good launch here.
Hydraulic press at 4,000.
Vehicle internal.
Hold. This is RLM.
Oh, another hold.
And what LC is not ready. All personnel, go to race cycle pages, Operation 90.
I just heard the hold call.
Yeah.
So they're holding for something. I heard them.
LC, it's a GH, helium regulator inlet press. Roger. Okay, team, we held it T-minus 1 minute 55 seconds.
All right, so we're
From Delta Launch Control, we are holding at the T-minus 1 minute 55 second mark in the count. We have 9 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in tonight's window.
Yeah, so I seem to think with this hold, I don't know if they're going to be able to recycle fast enough. I mean, they'd have to do it in a hurry. But yeah, they.
Flight control, you ready to reset the clock T4 and holding?
Flight control is ready for that.
Roger. ALC, reset the countdown clock T-minus 4 minutes and holding.
Roger.
Yeah, and this is the Delta IV platform.
Recycle report if ready to restart LUX pumps.
Roger. LC pumps are running. LC flight control, SFAP's inactive, STS in pre-flight mode.
Roger.
LC countdown clock has been reset to T-minus 4 minutes and holding.
Roger. OSM, place SRM ignition switch at disabled position.
SRM is at disable.
OVM, perform third stage recycle checklist.
Yeah, so they reset.
Are we going again tonight?
We're past T-minus 2 minutes negative.
No, so it sounds.
Copy that. At this point, we'll proceed to our power down checklist.
Roger. LD, LC net 1.
So it sounds like it just got scrubbed.
LD on 1.
All right, LD with our scrub past L minus, or excuse me, our hold past T-minus 2 minutes. You need to recycle back to L minus 4 minutes. Window will not support that second attempt.
That is correct, so let's set up for a 24-hour recycle.
Roger.
Well, there it is. So you just heard it there. We're going to get a scrub today. They're going to do a 24-hour recycle.
Panel, high-speed cameras normal.
Yep, and we are not launching the Parker Solar Probe today, unfortunately.
From Delta Launch Control.
So,
as you just heard on the live countdown net,
I'm going to turn this guy down because I can say what what this guy is going to say. But essentially, yeah. So we got all the way down towards the end of the window here. We had a hold called. They have to recycle the clock to T-4 minutes. Anytime there's a hold under 4 minutes, they recycle the clock. They go back to T-4 minutes, and then typically they're gonna need time to resolve the issue, and then they're gonna need a few minutes to get themselves situated before they start the clock up again. So usually you need, if there's a hold, you need at least 15 minutes left in the window to try again. So there was some sort of last minute issue. There's not enough time left in the launch window today, so they will scrub. It'll be on a 24-hour recycle, so they will try again tomorrow. So join us again tomorrow, and we'll try this again. I'll put up another event on our YouTube channel. Periscope will just go live, so make sure you're following at OLHCN on Twitter. But yeah, it looks like it's scrubbed for today. You got to remember the Delta IV rocket is an older platform, and space is just generally hard. So it's better to have the rocket launch scrubbed than to have a big boom. So we want to make sure that that everything is 100% and ready to go. You know, these are, especially, you know, the Delta IV is an expensive platform. You know, things are getting less and less expensive, but it is an expensive platform to launch. So the worst thing you'd want, and plus the Parker Solar Probe, it's you know, a lot of work went into that. So the last thing you want is something to go, some sort of big firework to happen as it's launching. So better to scrub. They're going to try again, 24-hour recycle. They'll try again tomorrow. But yeah, just space is hard. It's not easy. It's tough to do. So yeah, we will. I'll be live again tomorrow. Road Warrior says I blame it on the hashtag Space Lobster. For sure, I'm sure the Space Lobster had something to do with it. He usually does. But yeah, make sure. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because I'll put up another YouTube event for tomorrow's attempt. And if you're watching on Periscope or Facebook, make sure you follow the Facebook page, or if you're on Periscope, follow at OLHCN on Twitter, so you get the next Periscope broadcast tomorrow when we try that again. Yeah, Michael says ULA has been launching rockets for decades. They're already good. Yeah, ULA it's a very reliable platform. You know, so you know, there's nothing wrong with having a scrub. It happens all the time. I mean, sure, it's tough for people watching, but yeah, ULA is going to make sure that it's reliable and that they get this flight off successfully. So no big deal on the scrub. What time will you be back here tomorrow? Gary says, well, if they do, so I started around 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. It's 700 UTC. If they do a complete 24-hour scrub, then it would be about the same time tomorrow. I'm looking to see, let's see, yeah, no official announcement on time from ULA. They just said 24-hour scrub. So I'll figure out what the official time is, but I imagine it will be another early morning launch. So it's probably going to be like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, which is unfortunate. It's fortunate for me, unfortunate for you all too. It's 2 nights in a row with not a lot of sleep. So yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens there. What time that's going to be tomorrow. So yeah, scrubbed for today. Let me jump back a couple of comments I saw back here. Infamous C says he doesn't think space is really that difficult. Mike Kennedy says, I invited my followers. Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Yeah, anytime you can give the video a thumbs up, or you send over some hearts on Periscope, or you share it with anybody. Love that. Helps us out. Makes me feel like somebody's paying attention to what's going on. That's what keeps me going. I keep doing this because of you guys, and I have a lot of fun with you guys here. Let's see. What are you doing? I don't know. I never know what I'm doing. Server guy said Control-Alt-Delete. Jeff said, darn it. The Root says, thanks, bro. You're welcome, bro. Let's see. Somebody else said, a scrub is a guy. Let's see. Thanks for poor Barry making jokes. It's all jokes, Barry. Is launch delayed 24 hours? Yep, delayed 24 hours. Michael says, do you need another PAO? Sign me up. Sure, why not? Send me a message. Thanks for answering my question, Gary said. You're welcome, Gary. That's what I'm here for. When is Blast Off? Well, Blast Off is going to be tomorrow now. It's scrubbed for 24 hours, so might be time to grab the intern and put them on Rocket Watch. Fingers crossed for a safe launch. I'll be asleep, says Road Warrior. When we do crewed flight to Mars, any plans yet? Yeah, so crewed mission, well, not to Mars. We don't have any plans for crewed missions to Mars, but we're going to restart crewed missions from the U.S. Beginning in 2019. So we got a couple of the uncrewed demonstration missions or test flights happening at the end of this year. And then 2019, we should start crewed missions again here in the U.S. Via SpaceX and Boeing's Dragon and CST-100 Starliner platforms. So that's the first step, and then really you're going to Mars. You're either looking at either SLS, which who knows when that's going to be ready. That seems to be it gets pushed out farther and farther every other day. So SLS is coming. Hopefully, I'm excited to see it launch, but we got to see it actually launch. So SLS is capable of getting us to Mars, and then the SpaceX BFR also potentially capable of getting us to Mars. So that's what we're waiting on, is the developments of those before we get any sort of crewed mission to Mars. Poor Barry says we need some comic relief. I'm all for the comic relief, poor Barry. I love it. Somebody go light a match under that thing. Just get on the phone with Elon. The Kraken came. Thanks for all the hard work. Let's see. Have you been in space? Nope, I have not been in space. I would consider, I don't know if I would consider, I like watching it. I like watching it, but I don't know if maybe years from now I'll jump on a flight, some sort of space tourism flight, but I don't want to be the first one on a space tourism flight. I don't know if I'm that brave. Let's see, why is the launch delayed? So they didn't specifically say, at least not that I heard, and I don't think they're talking now. I don't know where my earpiece went. Yeah, it's just silent now. They didn't specifically say what it was. I thought I might have heard them say something about a helium pressure valve, but they blew through it really quickly, so I'm not exactly sure why it was scrubbed. And they said it so quickly, that could have been completely routine, like scrub procedure. So I don't know if that was actually the problem or they were just going through their regular scrub procedure. But they held it, and then he said something about the helium pressure valve, pressure regulator or something like that. Helium something. So I'm suspecting that it's something around there, but we'll have to wait for the official word from ULA. Because I don't know the official reason yet. Gary says, see you early tomorrow. Can't wait to see liftoff. Me too. I'm with you, Gary. I want to see this thing go. I'm actually really excited for this mission. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take years, but it's some pretty exciting stuff that's happening with NASA right now. What's the smoke coming out? That is essentially condensation from the super cold. There's some venting from the liquid oxygen, but yeah, basically the liquid oxygen is super cold temperatures, so it's mostly condensation that's happening around, like water vapor essentially. So completely normal. Michael says Blue Origin, my man. I think you're talking about the space tourism thing. I was thinking Blue Origin. We'll have to see. They do have those big windows. Those are huge windows on the Blue Origin, the new Shepard rocket. They're going to start selling tickets in 2019, I'm told. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Fong Tai says I prefer time travel to space travel. If you can tell me how to do that, I'd be interested. they said something has expired. So D said something has expired. Yeah. So what he was referring to there, D, is basically just our launch window has expired. So we had a hold. Not exactly sure what the hold was for. I thought it was helium pressure valve or something like that. But they called a hold, and there was not enough time left in this launch window to figure out the problem, recycle, and then try again. So they ran out of time. Basically, the launch window expired, and so that's what the problem was, and that's why we scrubbed. They just ran out of time today. The launch window closed today at 4:38 a.m. Eastern time, which was 2 minutes ago. So basically, their launch window is closed now. They don't have any more time left. Let's see. New launch time is 9:28 a.m. Is that for sure? Because I don't see a new launch time yet. Where new launch time is 9. Where'd you get that new launch time from? Let's see. This rocket will either not fly at all or go boom. I don't think so, Nano. That's I think it'll be I think we'll have a successful flight today, or not today, but at some point in the coming days. I mean, it is possible. Here, I'm going to switch over to my other switch over to here since NASA's done now. I guess we could get rid of this too, since basically that broadcast is over. But let's see. I think they want to do employees first. I can't remember. Yeah, I think I had also heard that, Michael. That's on Blue Origin. He's talking about Blue Origin's going to do their space tourism, and I think they are going to launch. I think they said they were going to launch employees first too. I think I heard that as well. Let's see. I heard the only thing that will be left of the payload when it's done is the heat shield. Yeah, so what the route is talking about on Periscope is after the initial mission, and once it runs out of battery and can't be powered, and it's basically the heat shield, once it runs out of power, will not be able to orient itself to face the sun as it continues its orbit. So one of the first things that will happen is that it's going to burn up because the heat shield will get stuck wherever it is, and they won't have enough power to move it into place to protect the spacecraft. So essentially, most of the spacecraft is going to burn up because it will be unprotected, and then after that heat shield is going to be stuck in that orbit for millions of years because that heat shield is so well made, so heat resistant. I don't know. It's a good heat shield, but it's going to be there for millions of years orbiting the sun. So yes, that is true. That will be the only thing left. Michael says gaseous helium regulation pressure alarm is so Michael says that's the cause of our hold that eventually caused the scrub, via Pat O on Twitter. So he said gaseous helium regulation pressure alarm is what our scrub was for. Thanks for checking into that for us, Michael, and letting us know. And then So Junior on Periscope also looks like he's confirming the same thing. He says, I heard the cause of the scrub was a gaseous helium pressure alarm. So yeah, there we go. Let's see. And then I missed a couple of other messages. Just get onto the rocket and tap the starter. All systems go. Poor Barry said, I saw it on Sky News. All right. Is that the time you're talking about, Poor Barry? I guess I got to look at what the time is for tomorrow. But let's see. To get so close to the sun, very interesting. Yeah, for sure. I think that's going to be super interesting to see what we get out of this. Flying through the corona is kind of crazy. So that's what the teapot orbiting the sun was from. Just wait and see. Thoughts on the launch having problems with Perseids meteor shower? Peak is on the 14th. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. I don't think it will be an issue, but that's a good question. I mean, my initial thought is it wouldn't really be much of an issue, but on the other hand, I mean, you know, meteorites is probably not a great thing, but I imagine it's probably something they'll consider as they, you know, considering their launch window. But yeah, I'll have to look into that. That's kind of curious. Never crossed my mind. Next attempt, no earlier than tomorrow, Sunday, 3:29 Eastern Daylight Time. That's 7:29 UTC. So if Stephen So is correct, that sounds very plausible, because that would be a complete 24-hour recycle. That'd be 3:29 a.m. Eastern Time or 7:29 UTC. So that would mean that I would go live. If that timeline holds up, then I would be live here again tomorrow starting at 3 o'clock. Usually do it about half an hour before launch time. So so there we go. Sandy said that they try unplugging it and plugging it back in. That usually works for me. That's usually my go-to fix as well for most of my stuff. Just unplug it, plug it back in. I don't know if they tried that. I'll see if I can shoot them a message. I do have an email address for the ULA team. I've corresponded with them a couple of times, so I'll shoot them an email and let them know to unplug it and plug it back in. Travis says they said 3:31 on NASA. Yeah, while it could be 3:31, that time that Stephen So gave on Periscope is a no earlier than time. So no earlier than 3:29 Eastern Daylight Time. That would mean that it really could be any time after that. There's going to be a window there. Obviously, I imagine it'll be the same 65-minute window, but they had a 2-hour window, so it'll be interesting to see what they do for the window tomorrow. Disappointment on not having launched this morning is much less disappointing than having the vehicle fail. Just saying. I agree with you, Ethan. Yeah, it's disappointing not to see launch, but it would be really disappointing to see a vehicle failure. So yeah, we'd rather just scrub it, make sure everything's good, and only launch if they're 100% confident. Poor Barry said they had to call tech support and they got rerouted to the Philippines and put on hold, so they had to scrub. Tell them you have plenty of helium if they need it. Yeah, I could probably spare a little bit of helium. Probably not the amount of helium that they need, but there we go. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna wrap things up here. We had some fun times, even though we had a scrub. I always have fun hanging out with you guys here. Since it's gonna be another late night tomorrow, I guess I'm going to try to wrap this up so that I can go to bed, and then I'll come back here tomorrow and we'll do this all over again. And we'll have some more fun, and hopefully tomorrow we see the Delta IV Heavy actually launch and carry the Parker Solar Probe to the sun, basically, on the mission to touch the sun. It's not really touching this. I mean, it's going to touch the corona, but it's confusing a lot of people. It's not flying to the surface of the sun. Anyways, Wyatt says, I stayed up for 3 hours. I feel your pain, Wyatt. I stayed up too. It's not late. Travis says, me too. I've not slept yet. Yeah. Yeah. Alex Ziggyfold might not be here tomorrow, but I'm sure going to try. Oh, man, bummer. Well, I hope you can make it tomorrow. I'll be here again tomorrow, and we're gonna give this another shot and see if we can't watch this thing launch here, right? So there we go. I think that's it. That's gonna be it for me. I'm gonna wrap this thing up here, and we'll do it tomorrow. I got this cool little graphic here now. It shows you my name, so you know who I am. But I'm Tori, and this is Overlook Horizon, and we will be back here tomorrow for another attempt here at the ULA's Delta IV Heavy rocket carrying the Parker Solar Probe on its mission to touch the sun. So So there we go. And Trip and Fool, I will look into the Perseus thing and see if I can find out an answer. I don't know if I'll get an answer, but I will look into that and see it. So set an alarm, subscribe to the YouTube channel, give me a heart and a follow on Twitter, on the Periscope, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, and have a good rest of the night. All right, thanks everybody. See ya.